Welcome back to the place in which an atheist, you the atheist, can hear the thoughts of a Christian. We know that we disagree on a lot of things, but the whole point of these videos is to figure out what can we agree on. How boring, how dull, how #yawn it is to debate and argue and try to prove another person wrong, because all that happens is you can never gain someone's respect by proving them wrong. In fact, you can only lose that. I know that, which is so much of my motivation. I care more about finding out what do we agree on despite our obvious differences in perception of reality. So this has come up in a few of the other videos, and it's time to acknowledge it. Something I think that we can relate to, you as the individual atheist, not the collective eyes, but you, the individual, you're special atheist, you the individual. What you and I can agree on, I think a lot of atheists feel this way. Separation of church and state, right? I mean, I think it would be kind of weird if an atheist was for church and state being the same, right? But for me, as a Christian, I'm totally against, the church and the government being united. They need to be separate. Let's start out with this: prayer in school. Am I, as an individual Christian, in favor of prayer in school? Absolutely. By the individual praying in school, you can't stop somebody from praying. I mean, if they make a big production about it, I guess you can. But prayer is a private thing. You can easily pray in school. You can't make that illegal. That's impossible. How would you even know if someone's praying? But as far as, I think we should have prayer at the football games or at the assemblies and all that. Obviously, and I've always felt this way, even when I was in high school. I graduated 20 years ago. But I'm like, well, what if there's people of other faiths here? What about if there are Muslims or people from Asian countries where they don't have the same kind of faith? Or people I don't want the state to enforce any kind of religion or lack of religion at all. I want that to be a private thing. So, and then people will often think, and I openly admit, I have no shame in saying, I am one of those young earth creationists. I'm not a flat earth person, but I am a young earth creationist. Like Kirk Cameron, everything he believes, I'm in that same camp. With that being said, I don't believe that I'm not one of those people like, well, they should teach creationism in the school. No, I'm okay with that not happening too. Because again, it falls on the individual person to raise their children in those things. I'm okay, even though I disagree with that, I'm okay with the school system teaching that we came from monkeys. I don't believe it, and I don't agree with it, but I have the right as a parent to teach my own children differently, in accordance to the faith that we're a part of. But I don't believe that we need to hand that power over to the secular state and say, hey, you should teach about God. That's not their place to teach about God. It's the church. It's the individual family. So hopefully what you've seen in the 3.5 minutes so far, if there's a bug on my arm, is that I feel that it's the individual Christian's responsibility for prayer in school, for teaching anything they believe in accordance to God. That's up to the individual. Don't hand that over to the state. And you've heard me say this before in other videos, when it comes to marriage, I think that's one of the just so laughable that we would ever hand that power over to the state to say, hey, I need your permission to get married. How silly is that? That's not biblical for me. I mean, I've looked through the Bible trying to find where we're supposed to hand power over to the government for us to be married. I've yet to find it. Marriage is something that is private, and it's not specifically a religious thing. But in the United States, for so long, marriage was defined where kind of this buddy-buddy system between, I guess, evangelical Christians and the government, and like, okay, here's what marriage is. But we can't give marriage over to the state to do that, because then what happens? People get upset about what marriage means. It's up to you, the individual, to determine what marriage is. I don't need the state's approval of that. Granted, yes, I am legally married, but It just goes to show you, oh, but it's normal. That's what you're supposed to do. You have to be legally married. You have to have the government's blessing. But to me, even that is a lack of separation of church and state. So, in case you need to know this, and I don't think this is going to be that controversial, a lot of you already know it, politically I identify as a libertarian. I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat. Nor do I think that either side is wrong or right, or idiots or immoral or wrong or ignorant, any of those things. I just believe that there are two polarized sides, and I don't want to be part of that system. Even if I continually vote for a libertarian who's never going to win, so be it. That's what I chose. But I'm the kind of person, my personality type, where generally if there's two sides, I just back away from those two sides. I don't want to be caught up in that culture war, you know. And it's funny because I think part of it, if you watch my other videos, there's a video where I interviewed my dad recently about how he grew up not watching sports and not caring about sports. And his father was the same way. I'm that way too. I have a son. Guess what? He's not going to care. He's probably not going to care about professional organized sports either. Believe in being active and being creative, but why should we, like Jerry Seinfeld says, why should I root for laundry? It's that jersey or that jersey. They could trade teams next season. What does it matter? It means nothing, you know. So I think that's part of it. I was subliminally taught, if there's two sides, you don't have to pick one of the sides. You can if you want to, but ultimately, no, it's largely arbitrary, the two sides. Most people in reality are somewhere in the middle. And I think that's something that a lot of you can probably relate to me on. I made that video, just kind of asking, would it be ironic for an atheist to be a Trump supporter? Because Trump supporters, at least in the media, are identified as evangelical Christians, which maybe that's ironic because I'm definitely not a Trump supporter. I did not vote for Trump. Now, in a generic sense, I'm like, okay, well, he's the president, and as a Christian, I'm, not supposed to be against who's elected and that sort of thing, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, But as far as me supporting Trump, no, I did not support Trump by voting. But did it matter? I'm in Tennessee. Tennessee's pretty much going to swing Republican for the most part, no matter what. That's typically what happens. And I know how the voting system works. It's pretty much, you can say, oh, well, you wasted your vote on voting Libertarian. Did I? Or did I waste my vote by voting because I live in Tennessee as opposed to Ohio or Florida, But for me, that's something that's a very strong part of my identity. As an individual who happens to be a Christian, I am against church being combined with government. I mean, and immediately I just keep thinking about Braveheart. I think about so much of the plot of Braveheart was because of the fact that, the kingdom, the state, the government was given too much power. And when that happens, then, especially if they identify as whatever faith it is, they could say, well, God told me to do this, Crusades, I know that's some, the Crusades, obviously that's not a good thing. But I would say, well, but look at the government. When you have a government with a lot of power and they happen to identify as that, whatever the religion is, expect chaos, expect bad things to happen from that. So I think it's that simple. Separation of church and state. Your thoughts belong right here.